Hey everybody, Neil Sponsel here, lead singer of Moonshine Mafia, and your host of Local Bands of Georgia. Last night we went country, but tonight we are going pure adrenaline rock and roll with Eddie Smith from Mad Margaret. How you doing, Eddie?
What's up, man?
It's good to see you.
You too, man.
It's been a while since I've seen you. What you been up to?
Just the same thing we've been doing the past 30 plus years.
Well,
just
that's a good thing.
playing like nonstop, having fun, doing what we love.
That's good. Well, the reason why I wanted to bring you on is you've got a wealth of knowledge, and there's going to be somebody out there that's going to be able to relate to what you've got going on, and telling your story. Getting your story out there, how everything started out for you. And just for me alone, this is a personal favorite for me because of the simple fact that I got started back in the pandemic era. And the first show that I went to go see was Mad Margaret.
Okay.
It was at 278 South, and it reminded me of why I love doing this so much. And then I see it on a completely different level. You were walking on tables, you were doing the whole rock star thing, and it was just amazing. And to be able to hear you guys perform at the level that you're performing at, and it reminded me of what I love to do. So, and then afterwards, I hit you up, started getting advice from you, and I just can't thank you enough of getting back with me so quick and just giving me the right advice on how I can be better as a performer. So I appreciate that.
Absolutely, man. I mean, I try to share as much knowledge as I can. I've been doing this since the late 80s, so I just try to share what I've learned, and hopefully it'll help whoever I'm talking to with it,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's definitely going to help.
Yeah.
What I wanted to start out with is, I've listened to several interviews with you, and Eddie is just an amazing singer, and he's got a lot to offer. But the one thing that I wanted everybody to know is a little bit more about Eddie. Because we've always had the current thing that's going on. I want to dive a little deep on how Eddie got started. If you can think about the early on, when did music cross your path?
I mean, I always loved music ever since I was a kid. I was obsessed with music. But I would say I started out as a guitar player. So I got a guitar when I was probably like 15. And that's when it just became all, like my whole world just all of a sudden became nothing but music. That's all I cared about. Was I wanted to I didn't even think about singing yet back then. I just wanted to learn the guitar and start a band and just play music, and wherever that was going to take me, I was fine with it. I mean, if it meant we were going to be the next Led Zeppelin, great. If it meant we're just gonna play bars and parties, whatever. I just wanted to go on that route and see where it took me.
That's awesome. Was there something that came across the airwaves that just hit you and said, "That's what I've got to do"?
My first guitar hero, because like I said, I started out as a guitar player. I really liked Ted Nugent, Stranglehold, when I heard that, and I heard the Double Live Gonzo album. That was like the first thing that's what made me want to get a guitar and start playing. And I started getting in, this is like late 70s, I guess. I started getting into Jimmy Page and a lot of those era guitar players. And those were my early influences on the guitar. And then of course the 80s came, and there was a good million players that were just shredders, and too many to mention that I loved. But I always had a thing in me that I wanted to sing, but I didn't think it was like my personality. I'd see Van Halen, David Lee Roth, or I'd see Motley Crue, Vince Neil, and I'm like, oh, those guys are great frontman, but I don't know if that's me. I'd love to be a singer. I don't know if that's me, but then it finally, something in me kept saying, God, it would be great if I could sing and play. And I just finally got to a point where I decided to try that as well. And I'm glad I did.
Yeah, me too.
I love singing, and I love guitar, but I don't do them both great together. A lot of guys, it's real easy just to sing and play.
Yeah.
I don't. So when you see me with Mad Margaret, most of the time you'll see me without a guitar, but I still play all the time.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And you also play bass, don't you?
I do. Yeah.
Yeah. I've seen you you pop up and say I'm gonna be playing bass here and there and everything. How'd you get going with bass as well?
The bass thing started. I had a friend of mine that they're called Mighty McFly. They do like 80s, but more pop 80s, like Duran Duran and that kind of stuff.
I got you.
But their bass player quit, and Mad Margaret was playing pretty much at that point. We were just playing like Friday, Saturdays, and he was playing shows all over the Southeast during the week and on the weekends. But he said, I can always get a bass player on the weekend, but I need like a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday guy.
Gotcha.
And then you could play with Mad Margaret on the weekends. So I was like, I never played bass. I played guitar before, but let me give it a shot. And I thought it was going to be really easy because I can play guitar.
Yeah.
But I found out quickly, like, bass has such a different feel. And it didn't take me too long, but I found out probably after a few months how to like lock in with the drummer, and I started seeing what my role was as far as being the rhythm section and getting the groove going. And I started learning it's not just playing guitar leads on the bass and doing and I love the bass now. I love it just as much as the guitar.
Yeah, I see you when you're picking something up and playing. I see you grab the bass first.
Yeah.
So if you have your choice, you're going to play the bass over the guitar.
No, because I love playing solos on guitar because it's so expressive. Like, I'm not a person that likes to like just do the same solo night after night. I like to just whatever I'm feeling on the guitar, just let that flow out. And that's like, to me, that's the greatest.
Yeah.
Like, I love that probably even more than singing, is just being able to improvise on the guitar.
Wow,
yeah,
I would have never thought that. If you meet Eddie, you notice he's really calm, cool, and collected. And then when he gets on stage, he flips that switch. Do you find that easy for you to flip the switch, or is it sometimes it's difficult for people to get on stage, or is it how is it for you?
It's just. I guess I get still, and I do shows sometimes 4 or 5 times a week. Sometimes I still enjoy it. I still get that adrenaline rush. So it's just, even if I'm having a bad day and I'm run down, as soon as I hear the first chord and the lights come up, it's just adrenaline just starts shooting through me, and
I understand.
I don't even think about anything else except we're having fun, we're doing what we love, and everything else goes away.
That's awesome, man. So tell me, where did you get started in the music industry?
Well, I grew up in Miami, so I played the Fort Lauderdale, Miami scene in the late 80s when I was a guitar player. I started Mad Margaret in 1990, and we weren't really having luck finding a singer, and like I had mentioned earlier, it was like this thing that I wanted to do, but I wasn't sure if I could do it well, and we weren't finding a singer, so I was like, maybe this is the opportunity. It's a new band. We don't have
Now, what were you playing right in the beginning of Mad Margaret?
Oh, I started out as the singer, so
you did.
We couldn't find the right person. And I was demoing some songs, new songs for the band, and I was listening to my voice, and it is a funny story, I don't tell this too much, but...
exclusive.
Yeah, my manager at the time, I told him, maybe I'd like to try being the singer, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But I didn't want to be delusional about it, so he put me in the studio, we cut a song with me on vocals, and then I took it around to people, and I didn't tell them it was me. I said, so because people, they're not going to tell you suck. Like, if I'm bad, they're not going to go.
Okay, yeah.
So I was like, this is a guy we're going to try out, and what do you think of him? Listen to his voice, and do you think this guy has potential? And that way, they're going to give me an honest answer. And I was ready. If they were going to say, oh, this guy's terrible, then I knew it's not for me. But I got positive feedback from everybody, and it gave me the confidence, like, okay, well, maybe this will work. Yeah.
That is awesome, man. That's well, I appreciate you sharing that with me, man. So you were in the Miami area. How long were you guys down there?
Only a couple of years. For whatever reason, I had been in a lot of different bands, but this band like just took off like quickly. Like within the first year, we had like a huge following in Miami, and we got they have this thing called the South Florida Rock Awards, and our first year, we were nominated for Best New Band. There was 5 in the category. The other two other bands out of 5 were Marilyn Manson, and they were a local band at the time. And the other one was Saigon Kick. I don't know if you're...
Yeah.
So it was us, Marilyn Manson, Saigon Kick, and I can't remember the other 2 bands. So
wow.
Yeah. So we did really well down there. We had management. We had lawyers working for us. We had a publicity team, booking agents, all trying to get us to that next level. And we started doing showcases up in New York for the labels, and things were really looking promising. And then grunge came.
The Seattle scene kicked in and kind of knocked it all out.
All of a sudden, what we were doing was like not cool anymore.
Now, did you try to stay in the same area that you were at as far as the music goes?
I did, yeah.
So you didn't waver.
No, because I was like, I have nothing against grunge. I mean, I like Alice in Chains and a couple of the other bands. I don't really like a lot of it, but I do like some bands. But it just wasn't what I wanted to do.
Right.
It wasn't the way I wanted to sing. It wasn't the kind of songs I wanted to write. So my attitude was like, if the kind of music I like is out of style, then I'm going to go down the ship.
Okay.
If it comes back, great. But I wasn't going to change.
Well, it's back.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, I stuck with it. And
Yeah, I mean, what you guys do is my favorite style of music. I don't have the pipes to pull off some of the stuff that you do. I do the best that I can on some of the songs that we're doing.
And you do awesome.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. But if you've never heard Mad Margaret, which you probably have, and but he's got a beast of a voice. I mean, I think every time that I'm hearing you, I'm getting more of kind of like a Sebastian Bach feel from you. Yeah, amazing. But that's kind of, when I saw you guys, that was kind of the first thing that came across to me, your mannerisms on stage and how you just controlled the audience, how you did it. And that, for me, I love that style of what's going on. I mean, like I said, I wish I could pull it off as well as you guys do. But yeah, that's I would probably have to continue doing that as well.
I appreciate it. Yeah, Sebastian was an influence, but there were so many singers that I loved. I mean, all the way back from Robert Plant to Dio to Tom Kiefer from Cinderella. There were so many.
Yeah.
But I never tried to like emulate any of them. I just kind of like did my own thing, and however it came out. I do get the Sebastian comparison a lot, but it's not like anything I'm like consciously trying to do.
Right.
But yeah, but I guess this is the way my voice operates, and then of course you take all the influences that you have, and even subconsciously you don't even think, like, I'm gonna hit this note, I don't know where it's coming from, but maybe Skid Row popped in my head, or maybe Janie Lane from Warren popped in my head, and I don't even realize that that's influencing me to do something a certain way.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So you're staying in Miami. How long did you guys stay down there, and when did you guys decide to move along?
Okay, well, we left in '92, and the reason we left, I'll try to tell this short, because it's a long story. I'll
Okay.
do like the short version of it. When the grunge thing came, we stopped getting like interest from the labels.
Okay.
And this company out of Orlando, they were a production company, offered us a deal to where they were going to put us on a salary, give us housing, pay for all our equipment, pay for all our studio recordings, and their goal was, at least what they told us, their goal was to get a finished product album recorded, and then they knew, according to them, I don't know if it was true, but they knew David Geffen, and they knew all the major label guys, and they would shop it to them. And what they did is we moved to Orlando. We had a big going away party in Miami. Radio station was there, sending us on our way. Good luck. And we get to Orlando, and there's no house. There's an abandoned building. And they tell us, sorry, the house isn't ready. Stay at this building tonight. No power, nothing. And we'll get everything situated. So we sleep on the floor. We wake up the next day, and there's no curtains on the window. And there's a line of people at the windows, like all the way down the whole row of the house, and they're staring at us.
You already
like
have a sold out show.
Yeah, they're staring at us like we're vagrants, sleeping.
Yeah.
And it turns out that was the driver's license line, and we were in an abandoned building.
You're kidding.
Yeah, and it didn't get any better. They put us in a hotel.
Wow.
And they took us to all these different meetings with these people. We didn't even know who we were meeting. Just people in suits, and they said, "This is the band. This is what we're going to do." It turned out they were investors, and they got all this money from these investors that they were supposed to put into us, and they left town with the money.
Wow.
So we're in Orlando, just stranded, and we still had our personal manager. This was a separate thing that we signed, but we still had a personal manager, and he was merging with someone up here, which Cheryl Kane.
Right.
She manages the band Fractured. They were merging to form like a management company up here in Orlando, and he said, "Well, why don't you guys come up there with me rather than go down to Miami with your tails between your legs? Come up to Georgia, and I'll be able to manage you better up here." And the whole band, we came up kicking and screaming. We were like, "No, we don't want to go to Georgia. We want to stay in Miami. We already got a following here." And but we came up, and it was supposed to be just temporary. I was going to maybe be here a year, and that was 1993. I'm still here.
You're still here, man.
But yeah, so that's how we got here. But once we got here, we did end up signing with an independent label, and we started touring all over the country. And I realized that we were the way Atlanta is located, we could shoot off to the Midwest, up to New York, out to Texas, and come back. And we're in Miami, it takes you like the whole day to get through the state.
Right.
And I was like, this is kind of a lot better for us.
Yeah.
And we started building up, of course, a Georgia following as well. And we just ended up loving it here, and we never left.
Yeah. So is the goal to stay here? I mean.
Yeah, I mean, who knows what's going to happen in 5-10 years, but we have no plans to leave.
Nice. Okay. So you go Miami, Orlando's a bust.
Yeah.
Everything comes up to Georgia. Everything is going good. You're touring all over the place. Is that something that you guys still want to do? Is the touring, or are you going to just?
I think we've gotten to the point. I mean, we started doing that in the late '90s, and there was a time where I was just always on the road. Like, we would still come back and do some shows in Georgia, but I remember one year, I think we did maybe like 3 shows the whole year because we were just always on the road.
Yeah.
And I think we've gotten to the point in our career now where it's not something that's that appealing to us anymore. Like when we did our last CD, Love, Hate, and Deception, that was about 5-6 years ago. We we didn't do like a full tour where we just stayed on the road, but we did go. We went up to New York. We went out to L.A. and did the whiskey and the what's Johnny Depp's called, the Viper Room.
Yeah.
We did Vegas. We did some festivals, but that's more appealing to me now, to just do little things here and there rather than just being a band and just. I mean, it was great. I loved it. I mean, for even in the worst of it, when you're driving like 16 hours to a gig,
yeah,
I still was like, this is great. This is better than flipping burgers or changing tires or weird jobs.
You're a rock star, man.
So I loved it even on the.
Yeah. How long did y'all tour?
The heavy years were probably 99 through maybe 2010. We had a couple years in there that were lighter than others because we might have been working on these songs and recording. So I think there was, so we would tour a lot and then maybe a year or two be putting a new album together and then tour a lot again. And then they just got to where we changed our game plan around 2008 or 9. We started doing more festivals. Like we were trying to do less traveling but hit more people. So we're doing like Rocklahoma, the South Texas Rock Festival, a lot of the Florida festivals, and some of them like 15, 20,000 people. I mean, it's just, so I would just pinch myself, man. I mean,
now, all right, so I've never played in front of that amount of people. What does it feel like?
It's this total, I'll use the adrenaline rush thing again, just total adrenaline rush, man. Especially if it's like a rowdy crowd that's just going nuts and you end the song and you just hear like a roar.
Yeah.
It just gets you so amped up, and it could be like, I remember we did one of the Rocklahoma shows. It was like 105 degrees out, and the whole show I'm just running around just doing the show, and the second it was over I realized how overheated I was, and I just about collapsed behind the drum set. My wife had to get like wet towels and throw them over my head, but again, during the show you don't think about it.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Man, I can only imagine that. Especially the crowd knows your songs and they're singing with you.
Yeah.
I could only imagine something being that large scale. I mean, and that's what you've got to understand. Is Eddie has done a lot of amazing things in Mad Margaret, and you're getting the opportunity of hearing the stories from someone who's done the big things. And it's amazing to be able to hear something like that, and I can only imagine the kind of adrenaline rush that you get from doing that. And I know you play the same way as you would 5 people in the audience versus 10, 15,000, but I mean, just the groundswell that you have that's out there in the crowd. But so you spent all that time touring, and you decided you're going to do more of the festivals. You're going to stay in Georgia and take care of everything. You've got quite the following here in Georgia now.
Yeah.
How do you continue to do it? I mean, it's just, every time I go to a Mad Margaret show, it's unbelievable. You guys are always on point, and you always have a crowd. I mean, how do you continue to be able to do that, man?
Just the love of doing it, and we always except for when it got like really hectic on the road where we were just playing, we always made a point to play like Georgia. If we had a hole in our schedule, we would play Georgia. It didn't matter where, if we were playing a small club or if we were opening for Rat at the Masquerade. We just always wanted to make sure we didn't forget about our home base where we're from.
Right.
And one thing I want to mention too, because I know a lot of people know the band from our original music and our albums, and some people, especially in the Georgia area, know us from doing like the 80s covers and stuff. So one thing I want to, before it slips out of my head, I want to address like how that came to be.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Why? Because there's some people that just come see us at like Cinema Tavern, which we just played, and we do our '80s show, and they're not even aware of the other side of the band.
Right.
So what happened? The reason that started is when we were touring, you know, we had to quit our jobs, and when you're the opening band, when you're opening for Rad or Cinderella or Warrant, whatever, like they're getting paid well. We're not. So it's so I started to like, how can I sustain this? Like we used to just run up our credit cards, like paying for hotels, paying for gas, and then oh, that card's done. Let's get another one.
Right.
I was like, this isn't gonna work. Like it's gonna eventually we're gonna hit a wall. So I met this band, Led Zeppelin tribute band called Zoso. They're still around, and we actually did a show with them. And I talked to the singer, and he's telling me, oh, we get paid this much, and it was a lot, and we get our hotels, we get our food paid for, and I started thinking, well, I don't want to do a tribute, like, and there's bands that do it great, and I'm a big fan of a lot of them, like Departure, they do Journey,
Yeah, fantastic, right.
But I'm like, that's not like for me, like I can't pretend like it, I'm not the type of person that I'm going to be Vince Neil tonight. I can't. There's guys that do it great, but I can't do it.
Right.
So how can I get that kind of money to help, so we don't have to go back to work and keep this thing rolling? And I thought of, at the time, now there's a million of them. At the time, there was nobody doing the '80s. So like, what if I did a tribute to a genre like the '80s hair band?
Right.
And it fits. It'll bring our crowd in, because that's the kind of music we write. So they'll see us do that, the '80s covers, and then we say, oh, we also have our own music, and it's the same style, so it's going to appeal to them.
Right.
So we started doing that. We had a booking agency. They would like say, you're going to play in Nashville with the Bullet Boys, you're going to do 3 shows, and then you're going to go up to Minnesota, and you're going to play a show up there. And I started filling in the blanks, dates, doing '80s cover stuff.
Gotcha.
So that would pay for the tour. And then I started doing it. We got asked to do it here in Georgia. And I was like, at first I was like, I don't want to confuse people. But we got such a demand for it. We started doing it only a couple times in the beginning, but then people kept wanting to book us and book us and book us. And then it got to be where like, we play everywhere in Georgia. Yeah. Like we do the '80s cover thing,
and it's hot. It's hot right now, big time.
Yeah.
I mean, and you're seeing these big bands that were playing in the '80s that are doing the arena tours and all that stuff. So I mean, what you guys are doing is pretty hot right now. So it's and these guys do it freaking awesome.
But I wanted to explain that because there are some people who only know us from that side, and there's other people who only know us from our albums and our original music, and so I wanted to clear any confusion. So that's why we do both. A lot of bands decided, well, if we're gonna do covers, we'll change the name of the band, and we'll that way there's no confusion.
Yeah.
And we could have gone that route, but we didn't. So then we were so deep into it that we just never decided to do like a separate thing for the covers. And I thought like, well, Van Halen before they were big did covers. Rush did covers. All those bands. So I really don't care too much. And I'm glad we didn't. In the end, I'm glad we didn't like call it something else.
Yeah. I totally agree with you.
Because if you got introduced to us, seeing us play "Sweet Child of Mine," and you like the band, then guess what? We have our own music too that you might like. So it all works hand in hand to me. Yeah,
I think the first original song I heard when I was at 278 South is you played "Loaded Gun."
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And I remember you saw that I dug it.
Yeah.
And you came out to me later, and you didn't talk about anything other than you like the Loaded Gun, didn't you?
Yeah.
And which is brilliant because yeah, Loaded Gun is a freaking awesome song.
Well, thank you.
And I'd probably say that's probably y'all's most popular.
Yeah, it's our most successful song. It got airplay, XM radio, the Boneyard. They don't do it anymore, but it was perfect timing. Around the time that song came out on Sundays, they were doing new music. Yeah. Not just like bands at our level, but like if Motley Crue had a new song, they would play. Right. They were playing all, because normally they always just play the classics on Ozzy's Boneyard and here. But they were doing a special Sunday night show, and he started playing Loaded Gun a lot. Like we also had a video for it. And
yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah, and that got played a lot on Rock Nation TV, and that it was like video of the year in like 2008. So that song, that's like our, if we had a hit, it didn't sell enough to call it a hit. Or if we had a hit, that would be the hit.
That's the hit. I got you. I mean, my favorite song of y'all's for me is "Ruling Me."
Oh, yeah.
I absolutely love that song, and I mean, I love Animal as well. I mean, you guys have got what 7 albums?
Yeah.
And you've got the last album that you put out was the collage of from '99 to 2021.
Yeah.
So I mean, these guys, like I said, seven albums. If you haven't heard them, you might want to check them out, because I know people, they go around, they see you guys doing the 80s tribute to the 80s genre, but I mean, I love your original music.
Yeah.
I mean, and I know it's tough. I mean, people, they want to go out and hear the cover songs and all that. But you guys, I know every time I go out and see you guys, you're at least playing one song.
Yeah, the goal is to do at least one a set. It just depends on how the night's going, and we just got to kind of feel it out. Sometimes we have a few on the set, and we won't play them depending on how the show's going that night. Or some nights we'll play more, depending on the crowd. If they seem like they're really into, if it's Mad Margaret fans that want to hear the original stuff, we'll throw in more. So it just
gotcha. Now, what are your go-tos when you're out there?
As far as
your songs.
Usually we always play Loaded Gun. There's a couple on our last CD that I really like to play. One's called Liar, which we have a video for. Yep. And that's another one. Is the tempo on that one is just so, just like, and I love to get that adrenaline rush. Yeah. So when we go into that one, it's not necessarily my favorite Mad Margaret song, but just performing it, it's one of my favorites to perform. Yeah. And we do the One You Love to Hate a lot, which is off the last one. Our newest song is Thief in the Night. Yep. And we have a video for that one, and we try to play that one a lot. We don't get to do as much of the older stuff unless we're specifically going out on, like the last tour we did, even though it was kind of a sporadic dates. Then we go back into the, because the whole show is our music, and so we'll go back and maybe do something from as far back as like the Cold Sweat album or the In the Name of Rock album, which came out in like '99. That so we don't do those typically when we're doing our shows in Georgia with the 80s stuff.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, because I mean, I would love to see an entire show of nothing but your original. Because I'm a huge fan. Yeah. And the people, everyone that follows Mad Margaret, and they know your music, they're like, oh my God, it's freaking amazing. So yeah, I would totally dig seeing.
It's in the card. We did one a couple of years ago at Dixie Tavern. Okay. Normally, and it kind of was, someone like brought it to my attention, like, okay, you go on the road and you're playing your own music for all these other cities, but when you're in Georgia, we only get to hear a couple a night. Right. So we did a show at Dixie Tavern. It was really fun. We just did a showcase of our own music, and it went over really well. So that we do plan on doing something like that.
Man, that's awesome. Yeah, I gotta check that out. Because if you are opening up for Rat or some of those, you might as well play your own stuff.
Well, that's all we did. Yeah. When we did those shows, I think there was. I do want to say there was a couple times where they hired us and they said, "Can you do the '80s covers?" And it didn't feel right to me. I mean, I did it because that's what they wanted. But I was like, man, when we're opening for Rat, we want to play our music, just like.
Right, of course.
But we've done it a few times, but as a rule, we don't. Like I think the last big show we did, we opened up for Jeff Tate from Queensryche at the Whiskey in LA, and that was his 30th anniversary for Operation Mindcrime, and we only got to do like a 30-minute set, but it's all our music, and it's again they're coming to see Jeff Tate, so it's that 80s kind of crowd that likes that's what we're influenced by.
Right.
So they just dig our music. Even the people that never heard it. I mean, every time we ended the song, the place was screaming, and we did have fans there that knew us, but a lot of the people didn't, and that's a great feeling.
It is. Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, you got a new following right there.
I'm just gonna slip out something.
Good. Let's go.
One of my favorite shows I've ever done in my life. We were playing at Club La Vila, Panama City.
Yep.
We were opening for Quiet Riot.
Oh, sweet. And
sometimes most of the time the crowd's right away receptive, but sometimes you get this, like when you first come out.
Yeah, who are these guys?
Yeah, and we had, you could just see, this crowd. We're playing outside on the outdoor stage, and we come out the first song, and I'm all hyped up, and I almost stopped in my tracks, whoa, I'm not seeing like this. I'm seeing a lot of this. Who are these guys? And every song, we did 40-minute set. With every song, the crowd started getting louder and louder. And by the end of it, it was like a deafening roar. And even the Quiet Riot guys afterwards were like, dude, man, you guys killed it. The crowd is going nuts. And I just always remember that night because they were almost defiant,
we're not gonna like these guys, no.
And it felt like such a victory. That show just always stands out to me.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, to just be standing like a stick in the mud, and then all of a sudden now they're your biggest fan, and they're gonna want to buy your albums and buy your merch, and that had to be one heck of a night. Man, I remember Club La Vila. I don't think it's still there.
Yeah, I think I heard they tore it down.
Yeah, but man, that had to be freaking awesome.
Yeah, it was. That's the one. That was 2000, 2001, and it's still if you ask me one of my favorite shows of my life, that one always just pops in my head.
Yeah, I was definitely going to ask you what your favorite show was. Can you remember? Because I know you've opened up for a lot of bands and you've played with a lot of bands. What are some of your bands that you've really enjoyed being around?
Probably the best show that I ever saw, a band that we played with, and we only got to play with them once. I wish we got to do more. Was Whitesnake.
Oh yeah.
And there was no pyro, no smoke, no. It was just them. 5 guys playing, and it was the best show I ever saw. It was they were so tight. Coverdale was right on the money, and that was my favorite show. And I mean, I love seeing Kiss with the explosions, and that's so fun show. But it was just these 5 guys just killing it. And,
just pure music.
Yeah.
And Coverdale is he's a beast too.
Yeah.
Now we've talked about 7 albums, so obviously there's a writing process that goes along. Explain your writing process. How do you get into writing these songs?
It's always kind of different. Sometimes I write a song. If I write a song by myself, I hear the song in my head, and I hear the music in my head, and then I grab a guitar and try to figure out what I'm hearing in my head.
Okay.
Another scenario would be my guitar player, Mark, will write a song, and he'll have all the music and the arrangement laid out, and he just gives me a demo and says, here, and I write over top of it.
Gotcha.
and there's other combinations like being in a room and us jamming and we come up with a riff, the whole band together. I've had where I've taken a tape recorder. I'm aging myself. A tape recorder, and I'll tell the guitar player or bass player, because I had around the time of the Animal CD, the bass player at that time played guitar as well, and he wrote really cool riffs. The bass player actually came up with that Loaded Gun riff, and I would just hit record. I said, play me a bunch of your riffs, and he'd just sit there for 30 minutes doing all this different stuff, and I'd go through his riffs. Oh, that was a cool riff. That's how I wrote Loaded Gun. I was like, that's a cool riff. Oh, that's cool. Let me put that and make that the bridge. And maybe like 10 minutes later, I hear something else that fit, and that's how that song came together.
Nice.
But they're all different.
Do you have a certain style of writing that you prefer to do? Do you prefer Mark to bring you music, or is it just kind of when it strikes you?
I found that's easiest.
That's the easiest for me.
Yeah. And I didn't realize that because Mark was one of the first guys to do that.
Yeah.
Usually it's us in a room and I take home and listen, or it's me by myself and I show the band. This was the first time when Mark joined back in 2013 where he just gave me a demo of something and I wrote over top, and it was so easy. It was like,
yeah, it's much easier.
Like I could just do a song a night like this.
Yeah.
So,
That's awesome, man.
and it's a little. I think spontaneity. It has a lot to do with how good a song is. I think you can overthink songs, and you can put too much work into a song. And when I get a song that's kind of done, I just got to add vocals to it, and I can write it in a couple hours. There's that spontaneity where you're not like slaving over it and changing things, and maybe you should have stayed back where you were, but you're overthinking things.
Gotcha.
So I think a lot of times, not every time, sometimes we've written songs I really loved that did take a long time, but most of the ones that really I enjoy from our catalog is stuff that came real quick.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have one that sticks out the most to you?
As far as
the one that you really enjoyed the most writing and
yeah,
you've got the most connection to?
Yeah, and I don't know, it's kind of an odd one to say that is my favorite, but the song of one of the ones off the last CD, the one you love to hate, I was really upset. Like there was a couple things that had happened and they were similar things, different circumstances, but it was kind of the same thing. Just two different people really did something that upset me.
Yeah.
And I just wrote that song like I was like just letting out, because I don't always write when I'm like personal things.
Yeah.
A lot of times I'll write, I'll put myself in a scenario, and what would it be like if this happened to me? But this was just like spewing out of me.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's an angry song, and it probably shouldn't be like one of my favorites. It's called The One You Love to Hate.
Yeah.
And it's just, but it felt so good to just release that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you've never heard it, listen to it, and you're gonna understand what he's talking about. It's kind of like Liar.
Yeah.
I mean,
I wrote them very back
because you practically have almost a full CD of hate and anger.
Well, you know what? That's how we came up with the title, Love, Hate, and Deception. Because I was like, we were trying to come up with a title, and I was like, well, there are a couple songs on here that are very angry.
Yeah.
But there's also some love songs on here.
Yeah.
There's our breakup songs, and then there was a song called Liars kind of has a deception thing to it.
Yeah.
So I was looking at the themes of the different songs. I was like, every song either had dealt with love, hate, or deception. And
that's perfect.
Yeah. So just it was the perfect title.
Nice. And that's the one has the knife behind it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my niece.
That's your niece?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, we told her what we wanted. She still lives down in Miami, and she did the photo down there and sent it up to me.
Man, she's famous.
Yeah, she came up here one New Year's Eve for a show, and she was signing our CD. She was doing autographs.
That is so cool, man. Wow. I'm sure she loved doing that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. One of the things that I want to ask you is, dead or alive, who is someone that you wish you were able to collaborate with?
Oh, as far as songwriting?
Yeah.
God, that's a tough one. I've always really liked Tom Kiefer from Cinderella. I like his songwriting. So I think it would be cool to write something with him.
Yeah.
Going way back to my early influences, I would love to sit down with Jimmy Page and Robert Plant.
Oh. And you and me both.
Yeah, there's a couple that pop into mind.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm a big Rush fan too, but I couldn't imagine what I could possibly add to any of their songs.
That's a
if I could write, yeah, I could write with them.
Yeah, that's a musician's
It would be a learning
clinic.
experience.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you if you could pick a favorite band, who would it be?
That's too hard for me. I could have told, like when I was younger, there were bands that like I could instantly say at the time, like, oh, that's my favorite band. Or I was really into Motley Crue for a while. I was into Maiden for a while. I was into Dio for a while. I was into Cinderella. I mean, and if you asked me at that time, I'd say that was my favorite. But now I just don't know. There's just so many that I love, and I can't even narrow it down to one.
Gotcha.
And I've kind of recently rediscovered my love for my early influences. I've really gone back to the stuff that I first started listening to in the late 70s. And I was too young in the early 70s to know that music, but I discovered it in the late 80s. But a lot of that era, like I never listened to the Beatles a lot until just recently. Like everyone knows their songs,
right?
But I never like really dove into music, and all of a sudden I got into this Beatles fascination where I was just going through their whole history, and I came to discover what geniuses they were, especially later in their career.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I did the same thing with Queen. Like I listened to Queen when I grew up, but I never like dove into it, and I did that recently, and so I've gone like back. I guess I've heard the music from my era, from the '80s, so much that now I'm going back to when I was a kid and like
well, I mean that's the smart thing,
yeah.
Because sometimes you get the writer's block or you get a creative block,
yeah.
And maybe I can go into different genres.
Yeah.
And see what happened for them to be successful.
Yeah.
Now for me, 70s and 80s.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at as far as the music that I love. I can't pull off a lot of it, but
everything I've heard you do great.
I appreciate it. I really do. That means a lot coming from you. But you take a look at those styles of music and you're hearing what they're doing, and for me, I can just feel what they're trying to portray, what they're trying to say, and everybody hears things different. And someone may hear the one song differently than the other, but I know those eras, they hit me differently than, say, the 90s or the stuff today really doesn't hit me at all.
Right.
But it's the 70s and 80s that I really get into.
Yeah.
And I mean, even when you can, I could even say the 50s and 60s, because I grew up with the oldies, but the 70s and 80s is one that hits me definitely the most.
Yeah. I'm a big early Elvis fan. I love all his music, but I love the early days.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's my aunt. My aunt lives out in Texas, and she's like, when I come out there, because we do an Elvis song, we do "Burning Love."
Yeah, it's a great.
But when she comes out, I'm like, well, maybe we can throw in a couple more Elvis songs, because she's a huge Elvis fan. But is there? I know that we do the cover ordeal. Do you have a couple songs that more are your favorite ones to perform?
From the cover stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually the songs that we don't play as much because they're more obscure. Like when you do an 80s tribute show, you're playing to not just diehards of that era, but you're also playing to people who are just casual fans that
Right.
just know the big hits. So if you stray too far, you kind of lose some of your crowd.
You're
So,
right.
but when we have the right crowd and we can throw in, like, we do Modern Day Cowboy by Tesla.
Good grief.
Love singing. But we don't get to do it a lot because it kind of, it'll clear a section of the audience away that doesn't know it.
Yeah.
You know?
And I'm gonna be the weird fan who's,
Yeah.
who's
But we
up
get
in
those.
front.
We get the people that are like, cool.
Yeah.
You go, you get a little deeper. You're not playing.
And that's a tough song.
Yeah, I love Tesla. That's another one I should have mentioned.
Yeah, they're freaking awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's cool. All right. So I know you stay busy. You are a full-time musician.
Mm-hmm.
I'm seeing you do acoustic stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You're doing jams throughout the week, and then you're playing Fridays and Saturdays.
Yeah.
Tell me about the jam sessions you do, because it gives you an opportunity to meet a lot of the local musicians that are out there right now.
That so we supply all the equipment.
Okay.
We supply drums, all the amps, PA. All people have to do is just show up. If you're a drummer, just show up with your sticks. If you want to bring your snare, you can. If you're a guitar player, bring your guitar and your bass. And just people, either individuals will sign up, and me and Mark host these. Mark's the guitar player from Mad Margaret. We host them, and if you're say you're a singer and you don't play anything, we'll back you up if we know the song. If it's 2 or 3 guys who come together and you just want you guys go up and play, you guys can play. It's all different scenarios.
Yeah.
So I find myself, I try not to sing a lot at those things. I play, that's where I get to play a lot more guitar and bass. So I'm constantly switching back between the guitar and the bass. I do end up playing bass more because there's a lot more guitar players than bass players. So I'm usually needed more on the bass, but I do get to play a lot of guitar. And the guy I actually started Mad Margaret with, he lives here in Georgia too. He moved up when the whole band moved up. He's not in the band anymore, but he's a phenomenal bass player, Steve Dietrich. And he comes out and he always wants to do stuff that we played when we were a kid. I grew up with him, so he's like, let's do War Pigs by Black Sabbath. Let's do Rush, Working Man. So and I'll play guitar with him, and he'll play. So I get to do like all the stuff I did when I was like 16, 17.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So that breaks up kind of the monotony of the normal ordeal. You get to kind of do get the best of both worlds.
Yeah, and then I sang with Mad Margaret, and I get to play guitar and bass all week. And like I said, we do acoustic shows. I also do Sunday mornings. I get up with no sleep, maybe 2-3 hours sleep max, and lately I've been doing sound, but I play, for a long time I played guitar, bass with a worship band Sunday mornings at a church.
Nice.
So I'd get no sleep. Sometimes I'd stay up all, I'm like, it's too late to go to bed. I'll just take a shower.
Right.
Sometimes I do get 3 or 4 hours if I'm lucky. And I do that. So sometimes it's 5-6 days a week of doing gigs and doing a church gig on Sunday. Now I'm mostly doing sound up there because that's where I'm needed.
Yeah.
But I'm so tired. It's probably for the best. The older you get, the harder it is to do the 2 hours sleep things.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Well, I mean, shoot, it gives you a great opportunity to be able to play guitar, play bass, and I love that you guys are doing the jam sessions because it gives people that are not in bands are getting an opportunity to either figure out if that's what they want to do, or they get to scratch that itch once a week.
Bands have formed from those jams. People who have met at those jams have formed bands. And one thing that's really cool is I've seen people There's just one guy in particular, because recent, his name's Luke. He first started coming out a few months ago, and he was very shy. And when he sang, I'd like really boost him up to almost where it's feeding back because I can't get him up.
Yeah.
And over the course of a few months, he's like comfortable now, and he's projecting, and able to put him at a regular level on the PA now. I don't have to boost up his vocals, and it's just cool seeing, watching people like grow and getting comfortable and getting experience performing in front of people. So
yeah, that's got to be extremely rewarding.
Yeah.
To know that you've put so much into this industry. Now you get an opportunity to give back, and then when you see an individual like Luke getting up in there and really helping him build that confidence and get out there and do his own thing. And then you're seeing bands form out of this whole ordeal. It continues the cycle of bands still making music and people writing their own things and being able to get an opportunity to go out and do that. So, I mean, that's an amazing thing right there. I mean, even if you weren't performing on a regular basis, you're giving people an opportunity to go out there and play. And then you get someone like myself who will go out there and see what everybody's doing because you love music so much, and you're getting to see someone that has so much experience doing it at an extremely high level, and you guys have been up there for so long, and it's a great thing to see someone doing what you guys do so well. Because I mean, you're surrounded by amazing musicians.
Yeah. There's some of the guys that come out are just like blow you away.
Yeah.
It's all different levels of people, beginners to people who are veterans. And we've had some people come out there, and I'm just like, my jaw's on the ground. Like, listen to this.
I can imagine. That was a good time.
Just to give you a little backstory on how that happened. We spent so many years of our lives doing this, especially the years that we spent on the road were kind of like our prime years, where most people are going to college and getting their careers going, and we were doing this, and all of a sudden it got to the point where we're not touring as much, and there's not as much work during the week for musicians, and I had to think like, well, what do I do now? I don't have, I've done this my whole life. I don't have an education where I'm going to get a good job. I don't have skills, trades. Like I've only done music except for odd jobs when I was younger. How do I sustain this now that we're not going to be on the road all the time, and we're not, there's not, clubs don't hire bands all week long anymore. So we had to kind of like figure out new ways during the week to come up with income.
Yeah.
So acoustic shows started. Then we got the offer to host an open jam, which I didn't think I was going to like at first.
Yeah.
Like, this seems like a lot of work, and I'm not going to be doing nothing. But it ended up where I do get to play a lot. I didn't think I was going to.
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden now our week are still filled up. It's just kind of evolving and finding out. Okay, this is ending. This phase is ending. Like, how do we evolve and keep this, sustain this, and keep it going? And like the acoustics, I never did acoustic shows till recently, and that was intimidating for me. So I'm used to having this wall of sound behind me. Right. And all of a sudden to just be up there with this, just a guitar, it was like the first few shows I felt was like a fish out of water. And I had a friend of mine, his name's Andrew Hogan's. He sings in a band right now called The Hugs. Back then they were called Trucker Love Band, but he always did acoustic shows. So I went to him, I was like, I need help. I got hired to do acoustic, I've never done it before. Will you do these shows with me as a duo? Yeah. And I went to his house to rehearse, and I'm like, this doesn't feel the same. I'm used to this. Yeah, you feel naked. I'm used to belting out songs, and then I tried to do a few, and then I go, well, let's do a couple of yours, and he sings like, sounds like a front voice from the heavens. He's just like, I'm like, how are you doing that? And I had to like relearn how to sing acoustically. It was so different from what I did my whole life. I had to sit on, and what the light bulb went off in my head is like, I need to sit on a couch, no microphone, strum, and sing. And if I can figure out how to sound good in my living room, it's gonna sound good when I get to the club and I've got the one mic on me and guitar. So
Gotcha.
I just sat in my living room and relearned how to sing in a different way, because I sing totally, I use my voice very differently when I do
Right.
Yeah, and I didn't know how to do that. I thought I was going to belt out like AC/DC, like it doesn't work on acoustic.
Yeah. Well, see, I'm glad that you brought that up, because I don't really do acoustic. It's something that I'm going to venture in, and I guess it's also a fear factor there too of not knowing what you're going to do, and you went through it, and you're right. It's a totally different vibe, because I've seen you and Mark do acoustic a show before, and it's totally different. I mean, the song selection is really cool. I mean, because you're kind of going on somewhat of a different path on a lot of this stuff, and you're just like, they're really doing that? And then you hear it and you're like, oh my God, that's freaking awesome.
I found out the hard way, doing like You Shook Me All Night Long by AC/DC acoustic, this doesn't really work real well. So, so just learning as you go.
So I'm glad. I just learned something right there from Eddie, on which I've learned quite a bit from Eddie, to where I guess I'll sit on the couch and I'll try to just sing to myself and come up with a different way of singing different things.
And it won't take you long. Like you'll figure it out. It's just different when you're used to doing something for so many years a certain way, and all of a sudden you're in a different element. It's like, it's kind of, whoa, what, I need to rethink this. And,
I'm gonna have to try that out, because I mean, I would be the same way. I mean, you just used to the bright lights in the show and everything that's going on, and the hardcore music going on behind you. So that would be something completely totally different for me. All right, I guess as we are winding down, why don't you tell me what is coming up for Mad Margaret? What's in the future for you guys?
What we're trying to do now, because we play so much, I do the jams Wednesday and Thursday, Friday, Saturday is Mad Margaret. Sunday I do the worship at the church band. So Monday and Tuesdays are like our only 2 nights off, and like Mark's got so much on his plate. He writes songs for TV and commercials and stuff like that, and he's trying to fit. We're all trying to fit in with these couple days. Things that we need to do.
Right.
And it makes it hard for us as a band to record new material, because it's like, oh, we got a couple days off, but he's got to do this and I got to do this. So the plan is right now is I'm going to get my own studio here at my house, and that way when I have free time I can lay down my vocal. I can, if I don't do too much guitar anymore on the Mad Margaret studio recordings, but I occasionally do. So if I need to lay down my guitar, whatever I need to do, I can do it here. I can send it to Mark. Hey, when you get a couple hours here, like we don't all need to get together and be in a studio and working and trying to find time. We can do it like that. So we're going to try and do a CD that way and see how it works.
Nice. Awesome.
That'll be another new experience for us.
Okay, awesome. I'm looking forward to hearing it. One of the things that, I mean, you've been doing it for a long time. You've got a lot of experience, and one of the things that I like to end off with the show is, if you had any advice to give the up and coming bands that are out there, or even the veterans that are trying to get to the Mad Margaret level, what advice would you give them?
Well, first, I think the most important thing is to not get discouraged, because there's so much, whether in the entertainment business, whether it's music, whether you're an actor or whatever, a writer, there's so much rejection, and there's so much negative stuff coming at you, that it can get discouraging, and you just gotta fight. If it's in here and is what you want to do, you gotta fight through all that. And if you get on like an upward climb, all of a sudden you're going back down again. Don't say, "Oh, it's done." I mean, this worked for a while, but now it's not working. I'm out. If it's in here, you'll find a way to adapt or fight harder and get through the peaks and the valleys. Like, just when you're down, just fight harder, work harder. Like for me, most of my life is all consuming. It's music, career. How do I get to the next step? How do I get to the next step? How do I, things were working really good last year, but this year doesn't look too good. How do I get back and surpass where I was last year? And just keep your nose to the grindstone. Don't let the negative stuff stop you. I mean, if this is what you want to do it. There's always a way. I mean, I've been a musician full time most of my life, and there's definitely been some roadblocks, and hurdles, but you just gotta stay determined. Yeah.
Awesome. That is great stuff. Before we get out of here, what are some upcoming dates for Mad Margaret?
We are playing in Roswell. We're off Memorial Weekend. We're taking a weekend off.
Okay.
The following weekend, which I believe is the 4th and 5th, if I'm not mistaken. That Friday we'll be at the Rock and Taco in Roswell.
Okay.
That is, if you've never been there, that is just a slamming place. It's like shoulder to shoulder from the stage to the back of the room. It's a great place. Yeah. The following day we'll be playing a place where you guys are going to be doing your next show, which is Timbers Tavern.
Okay.
Or Red and Terry's Timbers. It's got, I think the name changed. But yeah. Yeah. But you guys will be playing there in July, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So that'll be so that first weekend of June we're there Friday, and then at Rock and Taco Saturday at Timbers.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah. Awesome. Well, is there any closing things that you would like to say to anybody out there? You want to give any shout outs, some acknowledgments, or just anything that's on your heart?
I just always, anytime I get the opportunity, I just like to thank the people that support this band, that come out to see us, who buy our CDs. We've had fans dating back, we've been together since 1990, so over 30 years. There's been people who've been with us since the beginning.
Yeah.
We've gotten, we get new fans, we've gotten people. It's always so cool to meet people, and a lot of times you form friendships with them because we meet at shows. Yep. And we've had so many amazing people we've met who, like just this last weekend, there was a girl named Amy who I met when I first moved to Georgia. She used to come see us, like our first shows ever in Georgia. She came, and she's still here. She was just here last weekend.
That is awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it's humbling, that
yeah.
These people, people have busy lives. To take time out of your life to come see us, I mean, it means a lot. And to spend your money on us, buy our CDs or our shirts, I mean, it's humbling, so we appreciate that.
Awesome. Yeah. And where can we find you guys on social media?
Madmargritt.com. You got the shirt. I don't know if you can see it.
Right here?
Yeah, it's MADMARGRITT, Margritt.com. That's our regular website. We have a Facebook page too, Mad Margaret. And then there's a few fan sites. Feel the Madness is one. And then there's a Mad Margaret fan club. We don't run those, but we run the Mad Margaret page. But we have there's a few other pages that are really cool that always put stuff about us on there.
Awesome.
What we're doing and what we're up to.
All right, cool, man. Well, I've had a blast. I appreciate you being on the show.
Yeah.
And this is what it's all about. It's the local bands of Georgia. We're doing everything we can to help these artists that are out there. And if you're not on Mad Margaret, make sure that you go to their Facebook page, you like it, you share it, you check out their videos, take a look at their schedule, make sure that you catch a show. the easiest thing that you can do is like a page, share a page, make some encouraging comments on the things that you see. That's the easiest thing that you can do. Also go to madmargaret.com and just go everywhere that you can go. I know that you guys have videos online that you can check out, YouTube. There's plenty of stuff that you can see. Just go out there and check out everything they've got. I mean, there is a lot of stuff out there. Like we said, 7 albums worth, and it's absolutely fantastic. If you love 80s hair band style music, these are the guys to check out. Trust me, you're not going to be disappointed. Again, Eddie, appreciate you coming on the show. Great to see you. And you got anything else you want to say?
No, I'm good, man. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Giving me exposure on your podcast. I appreciate that, man.
All right. This has been Eddie Smith with Mad Margaret and local bands of Georgia. And we'll see you next time. And God bless.